All right. Hopefully you guys can see my screen okay and everything's good to go. So this is, I say session 3. I actually think it's session 4. I don't even know where I'm at sometimes, so I apologize for that in advance. But today we're going to talk about the DISC profile and understanding the importance of it and how it affects you and how it affects the people around you, right? And we're going to really tap into it hard. So if you got to take screenshots, take screenshots. You know, if you have questions, write them down so that at the end of our session, we can tap in and have a conversation about whatever questions you have. Again, super excited to have you guys here. Super excited that you're joining us today. Join us every week. This is a 13-week program. So we've got 9-10 weeks left of this. I'm committed to it. Hopefully you guys are committed to it as well. And again, there's no charge, there's no pitch, there's no nothing going on here. The only thing I ask for you guys in advance is to give me a follow. So follow me on Instagram, check us out on YouTube. We've got over 400 videos on YouTube for you guys. My phone number and my email address are right there. If you ever have any questions, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to participate with you guys at a very high level all day long, every day, okay? So take a screenshot of this screen. Give me that follow. I will follow you back. I promise. And we can stay communicative and stay in touch, right? That makes sense to y'all. I hope so, right? So let's immediately get into this right now. We're going to talk about personalities. Understanding your personality is probably one of the most important things, right? Because we think we know ourselves, but let me tell you something, man. When you take a DISC profile test, okay, which by the way, is not a lot of questions, right? It's just a few questions. And all of a sudden, this algorithm, this program figures out who you are as a person. And when you read this to yourself, you go, holy crap, how did this happen, right? The accuracy on a DISC profile test is incredible, but not all profile tests are created equally, right? So I'm going to send you guys a link to a profile test that we believe in and that we trust in. It's called the Abelson. And I'm going to send you guys a link to that. And I'm going to send you a link to the one I believe you should take, because there are different versions of the profile test. And I want to send you guys the one that will give you not only your DISC profile, but it'll give you more information on your intention. It'll also give you more information on your leadership style, which I believe is going to give you a huge insight on who you are as a person. Now, when you read it, you're going to know it about yourself because you've been living your own life all this time on earth, right? And so you're going to have a tremendous amount of connectivity while reading this document, while reading this profile, because you're going to look at it and you're going to say, yeah, that's me. And you're going to realize you don't pay attention to that part of you sometimes, right? And we're going to get into conversations later on what's best to work on and how you grow. And, you know, should you work on yourself or should you work with others, or what do you focus on, things you're great at, things you're bad at? We're going to have great conversations about that moving forward, right? The next part of personalities in the DISC profile, why we discuss it as a part of the SOP, is being able to understand other people and, more importantly, how to relate to them, right? So being able to look at somebody who has a different type of DISC profile and being able to relate to them at a very high level. Or better yet, something I heard last night, having a cigar and a drink with a good buddy of mine, he said, and we know this, but he said, using their strengths to put them in right positions, right? So having a conversation and saying to ourselves, let me look at this person on my team, or let me look at this buyer that I'm working with, or let me look at this seller that I'm working with. You're not going to send them a link with the DISC profile test, right? But if you understand the DISC, you'll be able to spend minimal time with them and place them on the DISC wheel, right? You're going to be able to know where they are. And that's going to help you grow through connection. You're going to be able to connect to people at a very high level, right? So let's get right into the DISC. The DISC is D-I-S-C, right? That's what it stands for, DISC, right? Immediately, the D is for dominance. The I is for influence. The S is for steadiness. And the C is for conscientiousness, right? Now, understanding your behavioral tendencies and how they affect others, huge part of this. Understanding respect, appreciate, value, in individual differences. So being able to respect why somebody else is different and how they react to different situations and being able to appreciate that and put value on it. That's what this profile is going to help you do, right? You're going to be able to develop strategies for working together and increasing productivity. Now, that right there, that's something that we just talked about a moment ago. We talked about how if I can understand my client's DISC profile, would that not help me develop a better working relationship or client salesperson relationship and create a better producing environment into helping them sell their home or helping them purchase a home? 100%. They should not be conscious to it. You should be conscious to it. You are the salesperson, right? Now, there are some companies that actually force all of their employees to take a DISC profile test and have them understand themselves, right? And then they will take people that they work closely with and have them study each other's DISC profile tests. Studies have shown that companies that do this create better and more solid working environments because leaders are able to place people in the right places, and other people that are placed where they are understand, one, why they're there, two, get to use their strengths in the right place, and three, understand how other people in their immediate environment react to different situations. And that helps them become tremendously more productive and more effective at their jobs. So we're going to enhance your effectiveness in completing tasks by improving relationships with others. Very easy, right? Now, we're going to see this DISC profile in a couple different ways, okay? The dominant, let's talk about the dominant, right? The dominant is direct, decisive, determined. The dominant needs respect, choices, and control, okay? I want you to think about people in your life right now. It could be you, right? People in your life right now that are super direct, decisive, and determined. They just task-oriented. I need to get this done now, right? Now, there are some weaknesses to the dominant. We'll talk about, there was weaknesses and strengths to all of them, by the way. And I do want to point something out. One, this should not be a tool that is used to judge other people. 100% no. This is a tool to understand other people and be able to create better and stronger relationships with them, not to judge them, right? The next thing I'm going to say is there is no perfect profile. There's no right side of the spectrum here, okay? So dominant is not better than supportive, or supportive is not better than inspiring. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, so everyone just approaches things differently. Doesn't mean they can't be successful at what they're doing now or today, right? The next thing I'll say is that more than likely, most of you will have two of these at a high level in your DISC profile. There are a lot of people who have one that is very high and the other ones are low. There are even more people that have two that are high and the other ones are very low, okay? There are very few people in the world that have 3 high ones or 4 equal ones. The 4 equal ones is known as like the super DISC, right? Like the super personality. This is a person that's not extremely great at anything, but is not really bad at anything either. They're even keel across the board, and it's a very rare thing to find. Now, also, as we get into this, I want you to understand that your DISC profile can adjust with life. The way we talked about your why, the way we talked about your 531, things in your life will affect your DISC profile, and they will create different situations for you, and they will move your needles on the D, the I, the S, and the C, right? They'll change things around based on life experience and what was necessary, what needed to be done, what needed to be completed at that time. Now, the I's, they're the influencers, right? They're inspiring, they're the influencers, right? They're influencing, interactive, imaginative, involved, right? Their needs are affirmation, popularity, and recognition, right? So, and we'll talk about this a little bit too. And we're even going to get a little bit detailed on why they switched the letters around here, and it's not the perfect DISC, right? Now, conscientiousness, calculating, competitive, cautious, and contemplative, okay? They need value, confirmation, and excellence. Now you got your S's, you're supportive, stable, they're your stable people, right? Stable, steady, sweet. They need security, approval, and appreciation. Now notice security, the approval part, the appreciation part is very similar to the I's popularity and recognition, just received differently. The I wants to be recognized by everyone. The supportive wants to be recognized by their immediate circle. The I is friends with 5,000 people. The S is friends with 5 people, right? And so we're going to dig in even a little bit further on each one of these, right? Now, I love this wheel because this wheel gives you an idea just based on the DISC, right? Where different personalities and thought processes come in. So when you look at this, you'll see that the D, okay, has challenge, results, and action surrounding it. And you see the challenge taps into the C as well, which means the C enjoys challenge, except they're more about accuracy and stability than they are results and action, right? What is the biggest difference there? The D and the C are both motivated by a challenge. The D wants results, and they will focus on the results, and they will take action to make the results happen. The C is a good counterpart because the C will look for the accuracy. They will study it. They will try to understand it because they want that stability. Okay, hope that makes sense to you guys. Same thing on the other side of the spectrum. You have your I and your S. So the I is full of enthusiasm, right? And believes in collaboration, like the S we talked about before, was a supportive role, but also believes in stability. Okay, and that's why this is laid out specifically the way that it is. Now, I love this chart right here because now you're going to see the D and the I up top. They're the extroverts, right? They're the ones that are independent, social, self-motivated, persuasive, you know, all that great stuff. They want to be out and about and in front of people, right? The C and the S are introverts, right? It makes them accurate, patient, calm, and logical, right? They're your technical people. They're super practical, right? They're the ones that, you know, when you're having a conversation, a group of friends and one of your friends says, you know, I'm going to ride my bike, you know, 1,000 miles around, you know, the United States. And the other person says, dude, how are you going to do that? How are you going to pack for it? Like, how are you going to make it happen? When are you going to take the trip? You know, what bike are you going to use, et cetera, et cetera. The D and I hadn't even thought about all that stuff yet. They just came up with a plan, and now they're going to go do it. Like there's an Amazon shopping list waiting for them right now. The S and the C is thinking all calculative. They're thinking about, they can calmly approach it and they'll get there when they get there, but they want to make sure they do this the right way. Now, when we separate the I and the S and the D and the C, remember we talked about the I and the S being people oriented, right? Except I, 5,000 friends, S, 5 friends, right? So we talk about that being persuasive, charming, kind, influential, outgoing, charismatic, right? The D and the C are extremely task oriented, right? Except the D and the C approach them differently, like we discussed. The D is going to go, we need to make it happen ASAP, let's just do it, right? Where the C is going to say, we need to make it happen, but let's approach this in this very specific and calculated way, okay? Now, let's talk about the D for a little bit and we'll zoom into it, right? You're going to see that the high dominance person is very direct, assertive, and in control, right? So now let's read through this because I think you're going to find this very interesting, right? It says, if I'm a D, I respond to pressure with control. I become assertive, even aggressive, expecting an immediate response to my instructions, right? That is your D. That is a very high D. And later on, we're going to have a little bit of fun and show you what the different Ds are and celebrities and so forth and so on, right? When negotiating with me, use the power strategy. Now think about that for a minute. I just told you how I deal with pressure, but now I'm telling you how to communicate with me, the high D. When negotiating with me, use power strategy. I would be more receptive to suggestions and hints than your attempts to directly control my decision-making process. Wow, right? You already know the high D is going to make decisions right away. Now, your high D, if you're in real estate right now, your high D is the one that walked into the house, looked around the house and said, yeah, this is it. Let's go ahead and place an offer, right? Or your high D is the one that was pondering. You said, well, if you'd like to place an offer, we can discuss the strategy behind it. And the high D goes, yeah, let's do that. That's your high D, right? To work with, now this is, let me move to the left side again. I'm motivated by, I'm a high D, right? I'm motivated by achievement and control. I want to feel that I'm driving my situation, right? That whatever we're doing, I have the steering wheel, I'm driving the bus, everybody's on the bus. And by the way, because we're going to achieve this, everybody's happy, right? I would be more receptive that way. I respond better to the suggestions than the direct orders, okay? Now, here's the good part. This is high D to work with the other parts of the DISC profile. D's and D's, we must have common goals and clearly defined authority. That means if you have two D's in the same room and both in charge of the same thing, there has to be clear definition who is between the two the authority, right? Because if not, they will just butt heads the entire time, okay? When a D works with an I, we must be carefully guided by a manager, right? Then S's, though we can get good results, we will need help respecting each other's differences, right? Because a D can easily insult an S, very easily, okay? Working with C's, we will get good results, but we'll probably not be close, right? That means we're not going to be friends, but we're going to be able to achieve what needs to be done, okay? High I, communicative and social, will run it the same exact way. If I'm a high I, or if you're a high I, think about it that way, right? I respond to pressure with verbal attacks. Whoa, hold on a second, right? I will try to talk myself out of a situation, accusing or highlighting shortcomings in others or systems, generally laying blame, right? We all know high I's. We all know someone like that, right? Now, when negotiating with me, use the people strategy. I would be more receptive if we have already built a social relationship. Discussions of the ways your idea have been benefited others in the past are also helpful, right? So if you're working with a high I, you're talking to them and you're building a relation. They want relationships, right? They want to talk to you. They want to know about you. And so you build that strategy with them. You build that relationship with a high I, and then you talk about all the great things you've done for so many other clients in the past, because that will help themselves put themselves in the same category and say, wow, this person's going to take such great care of me. I'm so excited to work with this person. That is a high I. They're influential. They want to be rah, social and in the face of many, right? I am motivated by positive communication. I want to develop rapport with others before reacting to their ideas or proposals, right? We just talked about that. Developing that relationship first is the way to go, okay? Possible rejection is difficult for me to accept. So I am uncomfortable. If I am uncomfortable, I am less likely to respond positively, right? So what does it say? Rejection is difficult for me. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to look at this and get rejected, right? So immediately it says, I may not work with you in a positive fashion if I feel like our relationship is not strong enough and I'm going to get rejected in this situation. Now, for an I to work with a D, we must have common goals and clearly defined authority. We will pair together well with an I and I, they're paired together well, but performance may suffer. Why? Because I's like to talk. They like to build the relationship. That's the person by the water cooler in your corporate office talking to everybody that comes to fill up a cup of coffee, right? That is your high I. So you put two I's together in the same room, and they're going to talk 3/4 of the day. Production is going to swindle, right? Now, I working with an S, we tend to be very successful together, right? We talked about how I's and S's can do a lot of the same, right? Okay. We tend to be very successful together, though my S teammates may become overly dependent on my assertiveness. Okay. That's I working with an S. And then I working with a C, through our skills and abilities complement each other. I'm sorry, though our skills and abilities complement each other, often with impressive results, our opposite natures make it difficult for us to team together. So if you have an I and a C, you're an I and you're looking at a C and you're about to work on a project together, you will find that working on the project will bring impressive results. However, you may not try to team up on every single thing moving forward, right? Now, I'm going to stop for a second before we get into S and C, because I also want you to know that You could be a high I and a high S, and your C and your D could be low. That could be, they would look like opposites, but they're necessarily not. So you could carry two of the strong traits on opposite spectrums, right? And that will change your way in communicating with other people. And you'll have to understand that as well after you take your own personal test and you'll study your own personal method, right? Okay. Now, next piece is your steadiness, your high S. Okay. You're amicable, you're patient, you're persistent, you dislike change. Think about that. Steadiness, dislikes change, right? I like things to be the way they are consistently over and over and over again, because that works for me. The second that my high D rolls in the room, my high D boss rolls in the room and says, we're changing all the systems in the office today, that completely throws me off guard. I don't even know what to do next sometimes, right? Until I commit to that system. And now that becomes the norm, and that becomes the forward movement, and that becomes the natural thing to do. Now, if you're a high S, it says, I respond to pressure by avoiding conflict. All right. To preserve the relationship, I will try to see both sides of the argument and find an equitable solution, right? This is your high S. This is that steady, patient nature. Okay. I'm going to avoid the conflict. I'm going to look at both sides of the spectrum. I'm going to find a way for us to meet in the middle, right? When negotiating with me, use the promise strategy, all right? Remember, they're steady, persistent, right? So it says, I want to maintain positive, supportive relationships, which means I am willing to accept assurances and guarantees, then give me time to reach my decision. When you're sitting with a high S and you're talking to them about the purchase of something, that'd be a home, a bicycle, a car, whatever it is. When you're sitting with a high S, what you want to do is you want to give them assuredness. You want to give them guarantees. You want to give them the promises, right? You ever seen those commercials on TV? Come in for a price guarantee or a price promise, or they're speaking at a high level to high S's. And when they sit with them, they give them everything they need to see, right? And now you need to give that S space. You have to give them time to make a decision. This is not your high D that you come in and you go, this is what it is, and what it is, and what it is. And the high D says, I'm in. This is not your high I where you say, hey, this is everything about it. And they say, wow, that's great. Let's talk more about this. Let's talk more about that. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. Okay, I love it. I'm going to make a decision and pull the trigger. Your S, it says, let me grab this information you have given me, and I need time to make a decision on this. I expect you to follow up with me. I am motivated by time. I dislike sudden change or interruption and need time and patience to adapt to new situations. Allow me to adjust to suggestion on my own time scale. Force and pressure will produce negative results. Again, you can't sit. If you're a car dealer, you can't sit with this person and go, so do you want it? Let's do it. Look, my manager says in the next 5 minutes, if we don't do this deal, he has to let it go to somebody else. You're not getting that deal. Same thing if you're in real estate. If you're walking around with an S and you're pressuring them because you know that there's 5, 10, 15, 20 other offers going in on this house, you have to just give them the facts. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. S, here are the facts. This is what's happening. This is how we could win this. I feel if we come at this approach, we can absolutely make it happen, right? That's that guarantee almost, right? And then let me know what you think. I'll call you later on, you know? And you could give them times, but you could say, based on the listing agent, we need to have an offer in by tomorrow afternoon in order to even be considered. Again, you're giving them facts. You're not pressuring them into it. Now, if you stand in front of that S and you go, we need to do this right now because you know, you're going to lose this house, that pressure is not going to help them at all. Now let's talk about the S working with Ds. Though we can get good results, we will need help respecting each other's differences. 100%, right? Because the S, steady, doesn't like change. The D's, like current in the water. Okay. I's, we tend to be very successful together, though I may have a tendency to become overly dependent on my I teammates' assertiveness. S's and S's together. Though we will work together and form a loyal bond, we will operate on a very long decision-making timetable, right? Think about the time, right? I need time to think about this. I need time to evaluate this. I need time to adapt to this new situation, right? Put two S's together, it elongates that time. They will help each other spend more time focusing on how they can adapt to the situation. S's and C's. I will be okay with a strong personal tie. If I am, we will work together well. Okay. Now let's get into the high C's. Okay. High C's are about structure, precision, and order. All right. It says, I respond to pressure with evasiveness. I will tend to avoid conflict by changing the subject, making vague promises, or completely ignoring the issue altogether. All right. This is how, by the way, these things right here, this is how you get in front of somebody and you can evaluate who they are based on how they react to different questions and different things. And once you can learn this system very well, and you learn these personality traits very well, and you watch 50,000 YouTubes on disc profiles and profiling and et cetera, that'll make you, I'm talking about the master salesperson. Because what is sales if it's not about relationship building? Being able to build those relationships is how you tap into this market, how you dominate in a very high level, right? Now, when negotiating with me, this is the C, when negotiating with me, use the proof strategy. It is vitally important that all my questions are answered in order for me to feel motivated by a new idea. Because the C is going to have a million questions. You're going to come to the C and you're going to say, you see these yellow Post-it pads right here? Well, we're going to start using green ones from now on. That C is going to have questions. And you go, well, okay. If we use the green ones, are they going to be, is the print on the green one going to be as visible as it is on the yellow one? And they're just going to have more and more questions. And you're going to have to answer those questions. You have to learn how to work with that C. You're going to have to answer all those questions in order for them to be motivated about this new idea that you brought to the table. For instance, listen, I don't think you should be looking at this neighborhood anymore because you're getting priced out. Maybe we look at this other neighborhood that is extremely similar, but the prices are a little bit lower for you, right? Now they're going to have a million questions for you. Well, what about the schools? What about the area? Are there restaurants nearby? Does the sun shine on the left or the right on this house? Like, they're going to have a million questions. You're going to have to answer every one of those questions and have the answers in order for them to feel motivated to make that push with you. Okay. I'm motivated by fact and detail. I need to be able to understand the implications and probable effects before I will accept the proposal. Forcing me to act before I understand will significantly demotivate me. I was saying devotimate, but work with me, demotivate me, right? So again, back to the statement we were talking about before, you can't force somebody. You can't just look at them and go, look, dude, I don't have time to answer your questions. We're using green Post-its, go with it. Because then that's the person that walks away and says, I don't even know why the hell we're using green Post-its. I don't want to use green Post-its. I'm super unhappy about this decision. I feel that this is not the right thing to do. You've completely destroyed their motivation to be with you as a leader, right? Now, when C's work with D's, we will get good results, but we'll probably not be close. We talked about that before, right? Okay, when they work with I's, though our skills and abilities complement each other often with impressive results, our opposite natures make it difficult for us to team together. When they work with C's, I have to understand that this teammate will want a little more of a personal tie than I think is necessary. Think about that for a minute, right? I have to understand that this teammate, this S teammate, is going to want a little more of a personal tie than I absolutely think is necessary. All right, and C's and C's together. We must be able to overcome our desire to compete with one another in skills or knowledge. Think about that for a minute, right? C's and C's together, super competitive on who's the best code writer, who's the best at this, who's super knowledgeable in this area, who's doing this and who's doing that, right? And so that creates a lot of rift in the workspace. C's and C's need to be able to overcome that desire to compete with each other and just get the job done. Okay. Now, knowing all of this stuff that we're discussing about the disc profile, how do you tie this to the avatar that you guys created? We talked about avatars last week. We talked about the type of clients that you want to work with. We even talked about having 2-3 different types of avatars, maybe different businesses, maybe different styles, maybe different approaches, because this all, again, will tie into how you market and how you sell whatever it is that you sell, right? So remember, you want to work with people that are compatible to you, but a master at sales. We said this a little bit ago. You want to be the master at sales. You want to be the master in your industry. You should be able to work with anyone, because you need to know how to be fluid. You need to know how to be flexible in order to adapt to whatever situation is in front of you, right? So if you can manage to truly understand the different profiles, and you can manage to really truly work those profiles appropriately. When I say work them, I'm talking about you first meet somebody, you're having a conversation with them, you know your personality, you begin to pick up on which personality they have, and you get fluid and you adapt and you understand their personality and you answer them the way they need to be answered and you approach them the way they need to be approached. They will forever love you, and you will forever be their go-to person for whatever it is that you're selling them, right? Now we'll have a little bit of fun and look at some celebrities that are in the disc profile, right? When we talk about D's and we talk about the D being super direct and super decisive and so forth, so on, you know, you got to have Donald Trump, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Judge Judy up there. Like, it just makes sense, right? Okay. Your high eyes. Think about Jim Carrey and how he's in front of everybody. Robin Williams and how he's in front of everybody, and he needs to be in front of everybody. And they love that attention. They speak in a certain fashion. They do things that bring them attention. Ellen DeGeneres, who loves to be, you know, on the camera, super positive person, you know, interviewing people just out in the open, has great conversations with people, right? Richard Branson, another one, right? Then you have your S's, those steady folks, Nelson Mandela, Tom Hanks, Jackie Chan, Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman herself, right? Then you got your C's, right? Your C's are that conscientiousness, right? That Bill Gates, right? J.K. Rowling's, like, you know, Harry Potter herself, right? Warren Buffett. Those are all your high C's. Those are the ones that are driven by that assertive focus on attention and forward movement, right? So I love playing this right here, and I love showing this slide because there's no one up here that is not successful. Like, every single person up here has seen massive success in the industry that they've chosen. And I bring that up because in the beginning of this, I mentioned there is no right or wrong profile for whatever it is that you do. All that matters is how you approach it and being the real you, right? And you'll find success in everything that you do. So we'll ask some questions. Take a screenshot of this real quick, because I want you to hold this, because this is a part of your assignments for the week, right? Question of the days, or the questions of the day, right? Who do you want to work with, right? Did this adjust your avatar in any way? Who are you on the profile chart? Just without having taken the tests and now understanding the D, the I, the S, the C, where do you feel you fall in? Okay. How do you adapt to your avatar? Right? So you've chosen an avatar. How do you react and adapt and be able to control your personality to work with that avatar? And how can you use this knowledge to be better at your industry? These are 4 questions that I would love for you guys to have written down and answered by next week, so that next week I can call on a few of you and be able to ask you what success you found with it, and be able to ask you if it did shift or change in your mentality that works with your avatar. Did it even go into your why? Did it mess with your why? Did it change it? Did it change your 531? Just understanding this, did you find adjustments in your sales business, right? So we've got tasks for the week. I want you guys to take the DISC profile test. I'm going to send everybody, when we send this recorded video to everybody, we're also going to send you a link to be able to take the DISC profile test. Take this test in a quiet place and be honest on the test. It's not going to take you more than 20 minutes to take the test. You'll receive the results the same day or the next day by email. The results are going to blow your mind, folks. Okay. Now, I also said that this profiles change every so often based on what's happening in your life. So I don't want to hear next week, oh, but I took the test 6 years ago and it says I'm a this, right? Listen, that test may or may not be valid. Take the test again, do it this week. I'm going to send you guys a link. It's going to be the most fantastic thing you ever read. Trust me when I tell you, right? Then I want you to really study your results to learn the differences, right? Why are you a high D or a high C? How do you adapt to other people? Here's even better. Who are you naturally and who are you adaptively? What does that mean? That means who are you in your home space, in your comfortable space around your closest people, and who are you in front of the world? Because sometimes there's a difference there. And when the difference is too large, there's a good coaching opportunity for you to help bring them back and closer together, because there means that there's turmoil within yourself and turmoil within your own personality, right? You're someone and you're working on being someone else in front of the public eye. So how do we bring them closer together for you to be you who you are privately and you who you are publicly? Analyze the people around you. So I want you to start, once you read this and read your profile 2-3 times, really understand yourself and the relationships, because the profile test is also going to tell you how you interact with other people. And it's also going to tell you how other people receive you. Wow. I mean, that would just help you. Like when you look at that, right? How other people receive you. When you look at that, you're going to go, oh my God, that's why that person feels that way, or that's why that person reacts that way when I do X, right? And so being able to understand that at a high level is going to help you tremendously. And then I want you to choose 2 people. I don't care who they are. It could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be a child, it could be whoever, but choose 2 people and analyze your relationship with them based on profile assessment, right? So once you've analyzed them and you think you know where they fall on the profile chart, I want you to go ahead and create an understanding of the profile between the 2 of you and that person, right? And then that's going to help you understand your value and what you bring to the table, okay? It's going to enhance everything you do for everyone else. It's going to enhance your higher ability. It's going to enhance you and who you are. It's going to enhance your workspace. It's going to enhance your bank account. So much more, right? Because that's what we want to hear. We come to these classes so we can take something away and go, how's this going to make me better in my life and business? Because if you become a better you, everyone else around you receives that beautiful benefit, right? Okay. Now, next week, you know, we already talked a lot about this, but next week we're going to get into our SWOT analysis. Next week's going to be super technical. Next week's going to be talking about your business strengths and weaknesses. And then we're going to talk about the exterior parts of your business, what opportunities and threats exist for you and your business. Okay. So I want to open up the floor real quick and see who might have questions, so I see some comments in here. Somebody wrote, I think I have a little of all 4 would be great. It would be great. It is an even keel though. It means that you're not extremely great at anything, but you're not actually bad at anything either. So you have an even keel. What you'll find is the majority of most successful people are very high at one thing, and then they have a understanding of working on what is best and what they're best at. And they focus on what they're great at and they hire out for everything else, right? Okay. Somebody else wrote, I want to learn to have the high on each dependence on the situation. For production purposes, get results is the only thing. So I love that you said that, right? Getting results is the only thing. You know, I believe that, which is why I said, if you can learn this and understand this at a very high level, no matter where you are in the profile, if you could learn how your personality interacts with everyone else in the world, you'll be able to be fluid and thorough enough to be able to work with anybody. If you can work with anybody and everyone you talk to is happy by your presence because you know how to speak and react to them, then you're going to be the master at the sales in your business, period, end of story, right? So I love that you put that in there. I love everybody that wrote it's a freedom day. I really love that. It is definitely a freedom day. Every day is a freedom day. Okay. So let's chat it up. Who has any questions? Who has any comments? I would love some comments, right? Based on last week, whatever, to bring anything up. I'd love to just give a minute. All right, doesn't seem anybody has any questions or comments. So I'm going to thank you guys for being a huge part of the SOP training and platform. And I encourage you guys to be here every single week. Furthermore, I encourage you guys to invite other people, bring them to the table, invite them to get this education. Again, it's 100% free, does everything for you. It's a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to connecting you guys on the social media platforms, and much love and respect. Have a wonderful week. Please do the homework. The homework is for you, not for me. I'm not checking your homework, right? I'm not a teacher. You're not students. We're not in class. There's no A, B, C, D, or F, okay? Just do the homework because it's for you. It's going to help you grow. And that's all that matters, guys. All right. Much love and respect to your growth, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.